Welcome back to the Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
Still reveling in the fact that the Bears have a quarterback. We are going to now recap, as everybody else has, the 2021 NFL Draft. Some key hits, some misses, and everything in between. Just want to go through some of those picks, kind of see who some of the winners, who some of the losers are from this draft, and kind of go from there. Just kind of after the dust has settled now, I've had, 4 days to just kind of decompress.
You should be okay.
I'm still wired.
That's what I'm saying. You should just be. This should just carry you over throughout the rest of the summer now.
I am ready for September. Let's go. No, so we will just go ahead and
we are ready for September.
I 100% am. No, it will go ahead and just as we've gotten a little bit of time to kind of actually reflect on the draft, we can dive into kind of some of these key picks that were made here, because I think there's going to be a lot of guys, especially from the first round, that are going to be some impactful players here. So,
we definitely got to talk about some of these interesting moves that was made in these selections. Which, thank you. By the way,
you don't have to.
I want to say thank you now before we even get into it.
You don't have to sugarcoat it. These were reaches. There were some key reaches in this draft. Especially in the first round. I think I've counted 7 that I personally, as the draft is going on, I just was like, reach again. Like,
are these reaches synonymous with being misses? Because I got 5 misses, but I mean, a reach could be a little different. I know where you're going with it.
I say reaches are just guys that you could have got more value from that pick, or you could have waited to go get that guy, Oakland. As compared to bust that you think that just aren't gonna hit.
Right.
There's a couple. I'm not sure in the first round there's anybody specific that I would say isn't going to hit. Just more. I think in the first round there's more reaches than there are just why. What are you doing?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's some semantics of word choice.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, whether it's a reach
or
a miss, exactly, it's going to be explained.
Yeah.
So we don't have
we'll
to
get into
on that too much.
Before we get into that, though, I will say, please like, rate, and subscribe. You guys killed it on the last video. That one kind of blew up a little bit.
Did you see that?
I was shocked, but you guys loved hearing me just kind of rant. You get into your soliloquy on.
It's number one. It's the number one in views.
Insane.
I mean, our Chicago ones are.
Yeah.
Man, I think we own the song.
But please, you guys are watching them, which is always something great. But please, if you like it, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends so it can continue to grow.
I think we should stop being apologetic for being Bears fans, because you know what? It proves in the numbers. We get our most interest is in these Bears pieces that we do. So
for sure.
Anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
All right, well, let's get into this. Let's start with the top of the draft. First round kind of went chalk to start things out. First 2 back-to-back picks, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Wins of pick, I would say Trevor Lawrence is definitely a win. Zach Wilson, again, I do have Justin Fields rated higher, but I'm not going to say it's a miss, because thank you, New York, for taking Zach Wilson. And I do still think he's my number 3. So you still got a really good quarterback. I think the Jets absolutely killed the draft.
Oh, yes, they're one of my winners.
Yeah.
I have 6 winners. I'm not. If you didn't make this list, does not mean you failed. I have 2 fails. The rest, you did okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. But 6, I want to just take note of. We'll do it as we go along. And then I definitely want to shine light on the 2 that I thought were just epic fails.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to go to that, because I'm just going to give it to y'all. And one of them is a team I really want to give it to them. And just because you'll know when we get to the piece. Oh my gosh. So moving on.
Okay. Well, let's start. I think not enough time has been spent on Jacksonville in any kind of synopsis that I've seen over the last couple of days. So let's talk about them for a second. They went with Trevor Lawrence and they went with Travis Etienne in the first round of the draft. I will say, at the time of the 25th pick coming around, the 25th pick coming around, I was definitely out on the Jacksonville Jaguars with Travis Etienne. I did not like the pick whatsoever. Didn't like the pick before him either with Najee Harris.
Money. They was playing with a second first rounder.
But I will say, with those 2 running backs being taken in the first round, there is a large juxtaposition between how their drafts ended up playing out. I definitely think Jacksonville hit on a lot of their picks later. They got a lot of good value with the tackles and the offensive linemen that they got, and
Mm-hmm.
the defensive guys that they ended up picking up. They definitely hit on quite a few. Pittsburgh, what the heck are you doing? I'm sorry. That draft was not good for me. I did not
I
like it at
think
all.
they should have just stopped after they first pick and just traded out of the draft. Because really, I mean, they got the one thing that they needed to address, and
Then you
it
go
probably
get a
wasn't
tight
even.
end.
I don't even think it was their number one need. I mean, they needed a running back. Yes, did they need necessarily Najee Harris? Great fit, I believe, but considering where that team is going, and I think they just refuse to believe they're in a rebuild. But with that being said, they're just gonna be one more year behind. Thanks. Somebody has to take up the Bears' mantle. So, yeah, good luck with that. You know,
I did not like that pick at all. But
I'm not Jay
back to
Harris. I
Jackson.
don't like that pick.
Back to Jacksonville though. I think that they definitely ended up kind of they hit on quite a few picks, and I really like the way that they started out. You got your quarterback, you got some offensive line protection. You pair him back up with a weapon that he really likes in Travis Etienne. And you're in Florida, so I think that these guys are going to be happy with what what their situation is,
I
and
mean, 9 picks, and they picked 4 defensive players. So I
yeah,
mean, for Jacksonville, I think that's a plus because that team in the last several years have been really non-existent and
they
just
need
been a
everything.
doormat. You're
Yeah,
right, and I mean with 9 picks, I think they addressed everything.
yeah.
And
Got a couple projects and kind of lying in wait. Hopefully, in a couple of years, they can come in and be an impact role player.
yes, but those first 5 picks, I mean, my
All can
goodness.
play.
I already said like if it wasn't for what the Bears did, I mean Jacksonville is definitely one of those one of my winners. So
Yeah,
that's one of 6. I just want to throw that out there.
yeah,
Jacksonville is a complete win for the draft this year.
yeah. And I'll say I'm excited to see what Trevor Lawrence and that offense is going to look like with the picks that they got.
Mhm.
Um, Again, kind of confused with what their plan is for Travis Etienne, but if you're trying to pair him up, I think they're going to do the uh,
Yeah,
Robinson and then Travis Etienne might be the number two. And not necessarily a change of pace back because they're both kind of elusive guys, slippery guys. But
and don't forget they do have Carlos Hyde over there though.
I think Carlos Hyde is just kind of an insurance policy to me as it stands right now.
Probably now,
Yeah, I
yes.
think it's Robinson and Travis Etienne, and then Carlos Hyde if you get tired.
Carlos Hyde had to be on the phone with his agent. Got night like, look here, man, get me out of there because I'm not gonna play. I'm
No,
just waiting for
I don't think so at
right.
all.
You just waiting for somebody to get hurt if they get hurt, you know. And
Well, but that's a pretty good bet if you're a running back in the NFL. So
yeah, but then he'll get hurt like he did last year. Yeah.
collect that
Moving
check over there, Hyde.
on.
No, let's move on. New York Jets, the number 2 pick. They got Zach Wilson, chalk pick. Another expected, like this is what we thought was going to happen.
Hmm.
And again, they killed the draft after that, and they traded back up. They had the 23rd pick. They traded all the way up to 14 with Minnesota. Ended up getting Elijah Vera Tucker, who was one of
Excellent,
my favorite offensive linemen in the draft. Uh,
excellent pick.
if Chicago didn't do what they did, I think they should have taken Elijah Vera Tucker down at 20. And that would have been a home run pick for anybody. The note that I have for
That
the
means
Jets with
that
that
must
pick,
mean Justin Fields must be a grand slam then.
we'll
Cause
get to that in a second.
yeah, I'll just say
I'll get to my notes on him.
don't bring up the Bears.
You guys already heard my notes on him. Go back to
Right,
to last week's episode. But I'll say it again here.
the hottest show out there.
Back to pick 14. I have just positive surprise. Like I was not expect. I thought the Jets were gonna get their quarterback and then do what they usually do as an organization, and it's completely f up the rest of it. But no, they capitalize on top of it.
Not
Just
that
a
team this
positive.
year.
It was shocking. It was just a positive progression here where they went traded up in not a horrible trade. Another in a great value for Minnesota there as well was what ended up happening with them. But for
Right,
New York specifically, I don't think they overpaid for Elijah Vera Tucker. I think he's one of the better offensive linemen in the draft. I think he is the third best offensive lineman in the draft, and he
right.
went third.
Yes, yeah. Again, solid pick, and then a great man. They had 10 draft picks.
Killed it.
This-
I think the only team that had more than them was the Minnesota Vikings.
yes,
Minnesota
my
had
God,
so many
they had
draft
like
picks day 2
17
and 3.
picks as well. Like every time I looked up, you kept saying Minnesota was on the clock. Then I was at home. I look,
Minnesota back on
Minnesota
the
on the
clock.
clock. I'm like, you was just on the clock. I'm like, what do you? I mean,
I was so confused every single time I looked back up. I was like, okay, they picked that guy. No more Minnesota for the rest of the day.
you're gonna have to
Three
let me
more
know
picks.
how did they do overall. I mean, when we get to them, because I'm like, I know they got a lot of picks, but some of the names I
Yeah,
recognize, and a lot of them I just did not know who these guys were whatsoever.
they had a few, but we'll get to them in a minute here.
Okay.
Um, but with the Jets, I think even going into day 2, day 3, they kept hitting on picks, and they kept getting guys for really good value, and that's what I think was kind of a little bit of surprise this year. There was a lot of teams this year that were definitely looking at value, and it was shocking because it was teams that usually aren't looking for value. They go need over value a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, and that's what hurts them. But teams like Jacksonville, teams like the Jets, teams like Chicago, were really hitting on value picks again and again throughout this draft, and it was very. I was elated to see the way that a lot of these lesser teams. We'll get to a few of them that didn't do what I think that they should have in a second here, but there were quite a few teams that really went with value and got really good hits where they were in the draft.
You know what, this draft kind of reminded me of what it felt like. I mean, maybe it's just because of what we're doing and the research we have to put into it. I mean, this felt like a fantasy draft. It had that kind of wow, woo. I've never been wowed so much in one draft than I have in this one. And then for guys I really don't only just got to know about a week ago. I didn't
Yeah.
even know most of these guys. I've never even heard your name.
I think that's one of the things that I think does make the draft a little bit more fun is once you do the research, you know these names and you look back at your notes and you see what you written next to them after you watched a little bit of tape from them, and boom, you're just kind. I think it's the name recognition for guys that are no names,
Right,
like guys that you shouldn't really know because they're not going to play this year or next year for that matter.
right.
But the fact that you understand that you realize who that guy is and you're able to kind of recall, I think that's what it is that makes this a little bit more fun. Is when you actually oh they got instead of they got a corner, you're like, oh no, they went and got Patrick Surtain. Like that
Right.
guy's good, and I really like the way that he can play and fit into this or into this defense or whatever. I think that's where it gets really fun. Um,
Man.
San Francisco, number 3. They kept their stuff on lock. Nobody knew what San Francisco was doing at pick 3 at all, and they go with a quarterback. So we went in the right direction. We just didn't get the right guy, but they did the positive thing, and what we both said was going to be the better option
Mm-hmm.
in Trey Lance instead of Mac Jones. The best option would have been Justin Fields, but again, thank you for not going with him, and you ended up going with Trey Lance, a high potential raw quarterback prospect that again I have a note positive surprise that you went with that guy instead of Mac Jones. I have Mac Jones listed very low. Like I feel like he's more of a day 2 quarterback than he is a day 1 quarterback.
I had the same feeling. I mean, I would he could have went as a low, first rounder, but granted, it was a need base.
Yeah.
I get it, New England. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if anybody's gonna take a chance and can afford to probably bomb, it'll be that franchise where you have Cam Newton over there. So it's like, man, I mean, for at least for 1 year, what's the harm in taking him at 15?
Yeah.
Like, who else would you gonna go grab? Outside of well, we got this linebacker or we got this defensive end. I don't think it was going to move the needle per se for the team. But that remains to be seen, of course. But
We'll see. But with San Francisco, I think this kind of locks in Jimmy Garoppolo coming back and playing this season because I do think Trey Lance will benefit from sitting for a season.
yes, and I think they already went on record as for Garoppolo, he's going to take him on and mentor Trey Lance going forward, starting now. So, and he's on board for it. So
If
it's
he's
not.
on board for it, I think that was a home run pick then because uh, it seems like there's a lot of quarterbacks as it stands right now that are not happy with their current situations. And even with these new guys coming in,
I
they're
wonder who we talking about here.
uh, we know exactly what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, when you have a guy who's willing to say, no, you know what, I haven't played up to my expectations. I'm not playing up to my contract for sure. I'm not able to stay on the field as long. I'll take this guy under my wing and I'll see what I can get going going elsewhere next year and what have you. So I think that's a great situation. It's a
And if your name ain't Kaepernick, I don't see nobody else taking that turn franchise to the Super Bowl. Well, whatever.
no,
I know what you're saying, but sure, we live in this microwave, society where we forget these things. But I
no,
get it.
no. But I'm just saying that I'm not saying that they should just kind of cast him off. But I think at this point, you they know what they want to do with Trey Lance, and there's things that Trey Lance can do that Jimmy Garoppolo can't.
I don't believe. Yes, I agree, and I don't believe San Francisco's going to do that. I think as long as Garoppolo does his job, helps out with bringing this guy along. I
Yeah,
think I really believe the 49ers are going to take care of him. And
yeah,
even if it means by trading him away or probably give him a trade of his choice at some point, I don't think this is the end of Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo
yeah.
and and if anything, it actually is a resume builder for him. More than anything, I'm like, what team would not want that from a
I know. I
quarterback?
think he's gonna have his kind of choice of options next year for whoever needs a quarterback. He's gonna be one of those guys that's gonna be highly coveted up there. So for
And
sure, San Francisco's not in a bad spot. Um, Killed it with that pick, and I mean they just kind of kept it rolling from
definitely.
there. Um, Atlanta,
Okay,
Atlanta,
now
Atlanta,
it
Atlanta.
begins. Now it begins.
They go with the disappointing but expected pick in Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a big picture scenario where on for face value, great pick, wonderful in the moment. However, it's Atlanta people,
Yeah.
and you, if anybody follows Atlanta, and if there's any Atlanta people that's on it, please chime in. You know this. The- you always get the little shiny whistle, the nice little bell, the nice little toy, whatever you get, and yet you fail to, from a big picture standpoint, fail to build the team the way you need to, and definitely build on that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
What difference does it make if you have all of these offensive weapons? And I'm saying this coming back from, I was I was kind of raised watching a very a fantastic franchise with a outstanding offense that never had a defense ever, and that was the Miami Dolphins back in the 80s and the 90s. Anybody wants to challenge me on that, go to Google, go to any, you can go to Wikipedia. I don't care. Just you'll see it there. I've seen this model before. It does not work. And when I last looked, I didn't see a Dan Marino sitting there playing on Atlanta. So even for as explosive as their offense have been in times in the past, it is never, I thought, ranked up to that type of stature. Even with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's decent, but he's not a he's no Dan Marino. With that, they got Kyle Pitts, arguably supposed to be the best offensive play.
Offensive
Play.
weapon.
Oh yeah, and he's going to Atlanta. Sounds great. Then you hear rumblings of, well, before September, they might be moving on from Julio
Julio
Jones.
Jones.
Okay, what good is Kyle Pitts? No, Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. Yeah,
Same exact
that
spot that you were
sounds
in last year.
wonderful. That sounds good, right? But now you have a rookie who, oh, is he going to be better than Julio Jones? I doubt it. I don't. That's not taking anything away from him,
Especially
but
not year one.
that's what I'm getting at. I'm like, and if he is, okay, wow, that's great. Probably need another quarterback to go with him though, because I don't know if Matt Ryan can keep up. But it's just, it's one of these. It's such a bad fit where it's a good pick overall, but for you all, I don't think so.
And it would be different if they hit on the rest of their picks, but Richie Grant from UCF, sorry, doesn't do it for me. I know you're trying to address the defense. He's a safety that cool. Sorry, but that's not going to fix everything on your defense. Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle. Okay, you're trying to get somebody to protect him, get some O line depth, and for Matt Ryan and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, go get more corners. Darren Hall. You went with defensive line. Taquan Graham, edge. I mean, another corner, got another wide receiver in Frank Darby. I don't think Frank Darby is going to be replacing Julio Jones anytime soon, or Calvin Ridley for that matter. So sorry, that's not their draft as a whole was just very disappointing. You went got Kyle Pitts, cool, but I felt like even if you weren't going to choose a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
even if you, because my whole thing was that Trey Lance was supposed to be, he was a perfect fit for Atlanta. You
Mm-hmm.
get him and groom him for a year. He went before you, cool. If you were gonna do that, and then from there you didn't like any of the rest of the quarterbacks, fine, I gotcha. Trade out of the freaking pick. You could have got a haul for Kyle Pitts, and you could have addressed the defense more. You could have gotten a guy like J.C. Horn, or gotten a guy like Patrick Surtain, or even Greg Newsome for that matter, if you traded down even further, who I think Greg Newsome is the second best, not J.C. Horn is the second best corner in this
Right.
draft, in my opinion. Um, so I mean, across the board, there was a ton of things that you could do, and you could have got even more picks in return for this number 4 pick, but you didn't, and you went with Kyle Pitts, and you're not. This doesn't progress you further or get you closer in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, to getting to be in any competition in this division for one, or in the NFC as a whole.
Exactly. And I mean, granted, okay, you had the fourth pick overall. Okay, you nailed that one. But the rest of the way, like you were saying, I think the way it looked, I mean, the guys, they don't look horrible, but what it speaks to me looking at their picks, going the rest of their two, three, their other 8 picks, they had
Yeah.
9 picks. Good lord. But out of the other 8 picks, it seemed like they were just doing okay. We'll just wait and see, and whatever's best available, we'll just grab that at that point. That is not a strategy because when I'm looking at a Richie Grant at 40, you had from 4 to 40, you had to really ask yourself, what is the best possible package I can get at 4 and 40, as opposed, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, trade out of the pick, you probably would have got 3 more players out of that, and of much higher stature, and had much more depth, and you would have been able to address so many more positions early in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Which, looking at just positionally, they addressed what they needed, but I'm like, are you really getting the value you really needed to move the needle? Are these guys even going to be pushing for starting positions? And I don't
Richie
necessarily see
Grant
that.
maybe, but everybody else to me, absolutely not.
It's just kind of guess and we already know what's going to come out of Atlanta. They're going to sell Kyle Pitts and only Kyle Pitts. You're not going to hear about these other 8 guys.
Not at all.
So, Atlanta, congratulations, you did it again. But I guess you got your guy. So, good luck, because you already talking about a offense that's kind of turning and doing a downward spiral right now. Because I mean, what they're already talking about trading away Julio Jones. How many more years does Matt Ryan have? Realistically, and I mean 2, 3, maybe 4. I'm possibly.
Say 4 or 5,
And
depending on what
I'm
the
stretching it,
situation
but
is.
but yeah, I mean, granted, is he going to get better as the 4 or 5 years go on, as opposed to where he's at right now? And I'm like, right now, he's okay, I guess. I mean, some people would. I'm probably going to grade him a little harsher than others, but
Yeah.
he's okay. He's good enough for now, But a year from now, 2, where are we at now? What if he get dinged? The season starts, he gets dinged up really good, and man, all of a sudden, Matt Ryan has elbow issues or shoulder issues or knee issues or whatever the case. It's just. But the point being is, he's of that age. It does. Father Time is not on your side anymore. So you have a very small window with Kyle Pitts, and the question is, what are you doing to protect this asset? I just don't. I just look like they just like, look, we're just gonna take the best available from rounds one
I
all the
think
way
this
through.
is a testament to a new regime that comes in, and they don't know what direction they want to go with yet. I think they're using this year as like, okay, who's on this roster? Prove it to me. And I think that's what the situation is, and I think they're going to address that they're in a rebuild next year. And that's unfortunate because Kyle Pitts is going to lose a year. Julio Jones, if he's even there, he's going to lose a year. Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, they're all going to lose a year by just this test that they're trying to see, okay, who's worth keeping and who's worth going. Was it really Dan Quinn's fault? Was it whoever the offensive coordinator was at the time? What's going on? What defensively? What the hell do we have on this side of the ball? And this is just going to waste a lot of talent on this team, because there are a lot of good pieces on the Atlanta Falcons roster.
Right.
It's just they haven't been able to bring it all together. They don't have those. Football is about details, and they just do not have those guys that really are going to address those small, minute things that really do make a huge difference.
Right.
To another disappointing move, number 5, Cincinnati. You had him sitting right there. You had him dead to rights. they would have had a home run of a draft. But no, you chose Jamar Chase.
No, they got cute.
Not
And
a horrible pick, but
these
definitely not the right guy.
I, these next few is gonna be the same story from 4 to like 7. You know, it's just like, what the hell? You know,
I,
like I get it, but big picture, you know, like I know, outside of the GM and the owner, you trying to sell tickets. Apart from that, what the hell? Like, okay, so Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, that's great. If Joe Burrow has enough time to throw and find Jamar Chase, so I guess Jamar Chase is just going to run 5-6 yard routes and has to turn around quickly because you know the whole damn defense is going to be on his ass the whole game because
don't know. It's bad to me. Just you went with you ended up getting Jackson Carman from Clemson to pair back up with Joe Burrow. Um, it,
nah, this was a trick bag
sorry,
pick. This was because it was unfortunately I get it. An offensive lineman is not a sexy pick. I know that. However, that's what you need. I
yeah.
mean, your franchise quarterback just got his damn leg decimated last year.
He got his entire body decimated.
Ah.
I'm almost certain he had a concussion as well throughout that season. Because man, he was getting hit on almost every single play, and it was hard to watch because he was so good.
Right.
He was so good at reading defenses, fitting the ball into tight windows, making the right reads, getting the ball out in a quick manner. Like he was just on point time and time again. But man, he had no time to really show truly what he's got. And that's tragic. And I feel like AFC, watch out, because once he does get an offensive line eventually, because Cincinnati, I don't think that they're that. Because again, this pick was kind of staring them in the face. It was a real bad dilemma for them because even and kind of hindsight being 2020, Joe Burrow did come out and say that he did want Jamar Chase. He did tell the organization that, which is okay. You want your guy. It's hard for them to say no to that, especially knowing what's going on in
But yeah, if he gets injured,
in Green Bay.
he's not getting fired.
True, and
They're getting fired.
exactly. But at the end of the day, it's just like you had one of the best offensive tackle prospects sitting just staring at you in the face.
Two choices, but no, we just and I get it. They were just put in this situation where it's like, God damn it, why we have to be here? You know, why we couldn't be like 11? Exactly. It would have been a no-brainer then. But
they really wish they were in the same exact position that the Chargers were in, where it was literally just Rashawn Slater and nobody else.
you.
That you couldn't take anybody.
It was just one of those. That's what I mean. It's like a fantasy draft. You're forced based on where your position is. I have to take this. I don't even want this guy, but if I don't take him and this dude hit. Yeah, he gonna hit because he on somebody else's team. That it ain't got nothing to do with your team, which is like the problem. Like again, he gonna snap the ball. The line is already gonna be on the other side. Just looking Joe Burrow.
It's gonna
in the
be
face.
that meme from last year where they were talking about Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yes,
it's just nobody on the offensive line. It's just him
and anybody,
two wideouts.
If you remember the Super Bowl, this is what it's going to kind of look like normally for Cincinnati. Unless they can address this offensive line. And I like Joe Burrow. I like him a lot.
I will say I do like the Clemson tackle. I do. He's not at the talent level that Penei Sewell or Rashawn Slater are.
I just don't see him change. Yeah, he's not game changing out the door. And,
yeah.
I mean, God. I mean, they drafted a kicker.
Yeah.
I think the best pick. Outside of Chase, I'm really Chase. No disrespect to Jamar Chase. Wonderful talent. I don't like what Cincinnati did here. But believe it or not, I think one of their most valued picks is Chris Evans, the running back from Michigan. They lost what's his name? Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, definitely, you gotta have some insurance policies for this guy. And at least I ain't saying they addressed it, but they kind of addressed it, even though it was late. I don't know if this guy's going to make the team, but he's the only running back they drafted. I think they should have drafted a couple of them.
Well, I do also think that, I mean, even if they didn't even draft Chris Evans, there's still some guys out there. You can go get a Todd Gurley right now on the cheap.
Is he still out there?
He's still out there. He's still a free agent.
You really want to get Todd Gurley on the cheap?
As a backup? Yes. Not as my featured back, but
I don't know if it's asking prices. I just I get it, but yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
but there's still guys. I mean, even outside of Todd Gurley, there's still a couple of guys
But I
out
would not
there.
take him over Chris Evans, who I don't know who Chris Evans is. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that there's definitely
Which is
just,
showing you the value of this guy now. That's my point. Like I don't even know him, and he's one of the most valuable picks I think to this team. But hey, you got your guy, I guess. Here we go again at number 5. I got my guy.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. And again, hopefully, the Clemson tackle works out. But man, I feel like Penei Sewell would have just been a home run pick here. Miami, they ended up going Jalen Waddle, and my initial reaction and my reaction even today is, really, you had Jalen Waddle rated over Devontae Smith?
I mean, and again, fantasy type stuff, upside, intangible element. These are not givens. It's if in the event that he may do this. And we talking about you playing on Miami. Miami is not doing any game breaking things right now. They still in
No.
the midst of a year into their rebuild and the redirection, and that's fine. But they're expecting him to be like a game changer, and I'm like, oh, he could, but man, 5'10", 180. I don't know if have you seen the NFL lately?
Yeah, I don't
That
think
that guy's
it's.
you're not gonna make it. I'm sorry. I'm just I granted, I mean his saving grace is there's a lot of short corners out there. I get it.
Yeah.
But still, I'm like, he's a very small target and there was some other options where he could have went. And I just
I mean, just to
I'm
me, I would have taken Devontae Smith over Jalen Waddle. I did have Jalen Waddle as the next best wide receiver at the spot. You could have traded down, but I do think that they definitely
I
they would have
didn't.
gotten ripped for doing that.
Devonta Smith was my number 2. I mean, that's fine if you're 2, 3. I
No, that's what I'm
understood
saying. I
they
have
were flip.
Devontae Smith rated over
Okay,
Jalen
right,
Waddle.
gotcha.
So that was my question. I was just like, really, you like, what about Jalen Waddle puts him over? Is it literally just his build where he's heavier? He's shorter. He's 3 inches shorter. Like I don't understand. I know he's a little bit faster, but Devontae Smith isn't slow.
I think because they want to throw this guy in the slot, they want him to be a punt returner. I think they just think his versatility is probably what they went with. But his, I'm sorry, man, 5'10", 180. You're a project to me. I mean, think you got a lot of upside. Don't get me wrong, but
Think
to
it would be
following that
different.
Steve Smith model, that was freaking Steve Smith. What I'm saying? You don't find too many
Yeah,
speedy, small guys that just become super game breakers. Tyreek Hill, they here and there. Is he that guy? That remains to be seen. But if they miss, and you had all of these other people, here we go. This is one of those make or break picks.
but to me, it's one of these things where it's like this would fit on a Cincinnati where you already have T Higgins, you already have uh uh what's the other guy's name? They got one more wide receiver over there right now.
Oh, you're talking about Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd. It would fit there. I think. I think that's just the way that their offense is run. Rams, kind of the way that their offense is, short passing routes. He fits right in. He can do exactly what you need. Not going to clog up the lane. He's got the speed. A lot of these teams, like where he would fit on Atlanta. Like that's a better, I think, fit because man, you got bigger guys on the outside. You need a change of pace guy. Bring him in. He can bust
Where
things.
they already have 2 established receivers, and he's
Yeah,
arguably coming in to be the
the
number
number
one
one.
guy.
And I will say, going back to our conversation last week, apologize to Devontae Parker. You are the number one guy as it stands right now. But man, and
Wow,
it's
so sour on Miami.
but this makes me even more sour on Miami's situation, only because it's just like you had it in not because you missed out on Jamar Chase because you didn't miss out on him. You literally just never had the opportunity to draft him.
Right.
But you're looking at, I mean, Devontae Smith, I think, would really fit what they're trying to do more than what Jalen Waddle is doing here. Because you've got Will Fuller already, you've got Devontae Parker,
Mm-hmm.
you got 15,000 other wide receivers.
Grant and that guy,
You're
and
only
this guy, and that other guy, dude. Yeah, they a bunch of them over there.
So I think he's just gonna get thrown in the mix, and they're gonna be like, okay, whatever five pan out, five pan out. Like I think that's literally what they're trying to do going into OTAs. And I don't know if that's the best option, but I will say Miami really hit on the rest of their draft.
I thought they had a decent draft. Yeah,
I
I
really like the Jalen Phillips. He's my favorite edge rusher out of this draft class. Javon Holland, I think, was a steal in the second round. He's one of my favorites. They have him listed as safety. I think they're going to play him at corner. Um, Liam Eckenberg, I don't know how to say his name, but from Notre Dame, tackle again in the second round, solid pick there. Went you did
Eichenberg.
Etchenberg. You went with Hunter Long as your tight end, offensive tackle Larnell Coleman from Massachusetts, and
Does not
Jared
matter.
Dokes
Will not be there.
in the seventh. Yeah, sorry, those
I'm
two
going out
really
on a
don't matter.
limb. I don't think he's
The
gonna be
rest of
there.
those guys, though, for sure hit, and I think are definitely going to be impactful guys. Even with how good Miami's defense is, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, huge wins.
I like that Hunter Long pick because Kaseki is definitely going to need some help. If
For
you
sure.
looked at some of his, looked a little deeper in his numbers were not as impressive as they needed to be. And
Plus, their head coach
productivity.
comes from the two tight end god himself, so he wants to run some sets with him. I think it definitely would work out.
Yes, and not sure where were they. I know we touched on it just a little bit. Like, how was the offensive line looking? Because I know
Their offensive line is decent. It definitely think it still needs work. I mean, it's not good. It's not like Tua is going to be completely fine next year. It's not that.
I think that where the tight end does help with that.
Yeah.
That's where I was kind of like, I could see in the totality, big pick, big look at the full package. They had a nice draft. Like I said, they wasn't one of my winners per se, but they was not a loser.
Yeah.
So they had a good draft. Jalen Waddle's a bit of a question mark, but we shall see.
Yeah. All right, Detroit. You looking at Penei Sewell here? What is? I want to get your thoughts first on this one.
This is the same thing we've been talking about the last two picks in reverse. It's not that you can't use the guy. It's not that you don't need the guy. But it's what is your greatest need? That's where I'm getting at. Is your greatest need offensive lineman or is it wide receiver? I can argue it's equally both.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, looking at whatever it is you're trying to do next year, you have to ask yourself, at what value can I get a better wide receiver in the second round or a better offensive lineman in the second round? That's what you really have to ask yourself. And from based on the talent of where you're getting the person right now, I see a bigger drop off with wide receivers by the second round or by their second round pick versus yes, they get Penei Sewell, arguably the best offensive lineman and definitely should be in Cincinnati right now. Have no idea why you're in Detroit because now you're blocking for a notoriously losing franchise that just has problems all over the field, all over the offensive line, all throughout the skill positions. They don't even have any skill players right now, which is the other thing. You don't even have any. You don't have a number one or a number two wide receiver, and you're drafting seventh in the draft. And guess what? Devontae Smith failed to you.
Mm-hmm.
Home run. And I hear Penei Sewell's name go, and I hear it behind Detroit, and I feel so bad for Penei Sewell right now because you're gonna be the greatest thing no one's ever talking about over in Detroit, where careers go to die.
Okay. Well, let me ask you
That's
this.
what I had to say.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Trade out Devontae Smith. Where does Detroit land next year? Say week 18 now.
Mm-hmm.
Is Detroit in the playoffs?
If they had Devontae Smith
Devontae
instead,
Smith, not Penei Sewell.
let me see, was it week 18? How many games they got? 17, right?
17 games.
5-12.
Okay, so
Ask me the other question, but reverse it.
what
What
they
it is
have
right
now?
5-12.
Exact. So for me, now listen.
They
This is
backed
why
up.
I love this pick. I think Penei Sewell is a home run pick, and I see why Motor City Dan Campbell was super jazzed up when they got him. They were elate. Did you see that draft
Stop.
reaction?
Like I got to see you getting too excited. Stop.
No,
Stop. It's Detroit. See, you're not.
no,
You
and
don't
I understand that
understand. I
it
don't
is
think you
Detroit.
do.
But the reason why I think that this is a very smart pick to me, and I'm not saying that this is going to change their franchise. Not saying that they did one thing right, and I think that to me, you're not going to end up with you're not in the playoffs this year. You're not competing in this division. You're not competing in this conference.
Mhm.
You're not competing for the wild card spot. Let's go build our team. Hey, what's the are we totally in on Jared Goff? Is he our franchise quarterback for from now until the end of time? Like for the next 15 years? We don't know. So let's go ahead and let's get as much protection as we possibly can. Let's get a guy that we know is going to be on our team for the next 15 years at least. And from there, we'll build out from there on the offense. And they absolutely killed it on the defensive side of the ball for the rest of this. I mean, they had a very solid draft overall, and I think they made the right choice. Instead of going to get the sexy pick in Devontae Smith, they went with the smarter choice and a guy that they know that they can actually utilize play in, play out, game in, game out for the rest of the next at least for his first contract. You're gonna have a guy who's gonna be in there every single play this entire year.
So let's just say, just for the hell of it, let's just say this hypothetically. Let's say Cincinnati came to their senses and got Penei Sewell.
Yes.
Who does
Devontae Smith.
Who does Detroit get now?
Devontae Smith for sure.
Why not Rashawn Slater?
Well,
based on what you just said,
offensive lineman.
I just said, who do you get? That's what I was asking. Who do they get now? If he's not there, or who should they be getting?
Who should they be getting? Rashawn Slater, I think.
Okay. I know they wouldn't do that, but okay.
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't do that. They would go Devontae Smith because I think a lot of people are getting it confused with Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell. To me, Rashawn Slater is the better prospect out of the two. Penei Sewell has the name, and he's been seen on national TV for the last 4 years. I was just making
the point of if they really felt they needed an offensive lineman that bad, I think if that guy wasn't there, I don't think they was going to go that direction.
And I don't think so either. I think it was just the name Penei Sewell. It is a position of need for them.
Definitely.
But I mean, everything's a position of need.
And that's my is it yeah. I think we're gonna waste a lot of time trying to explain some this is what I mean. These are horrible teams. Like they're bad. Like your good moves are bad moves, your bad moves are good moves because
I think this is just an all around good move. I think it's a smart pick.
No, I don't let me stop. Let me frame it like this. You can't really mess this pick up. You need everything. It's like you would have had to go. Oh, you went and got a kicker in the first round. Like, come on. Like, nobody's going to do that. But it has to be something so outlandishly bogus for it to be a bad pick. It's like, but from what I'm seeing is, it did not matter who they picked. They could have picked anybody, and it would have been a good pick at this point. It could have been a linebacker. Great. Need all of that. Cornerback, Surtain. Wonderful. Need that. Safety. Any safety. Don't matter. Because we need a safety. It's just... this is why I was kind of smiling when we got to Detroit, because it's like it doesn't matter what I say, good or bad. That's fair. It's like there's no wrong answer here. It's like
I like the pick. I think it's.
I do too. I'm so I can't even celebrate the pick because of where the pick went. And
yeah,
like,
no,
Detroit,
I get you. It's Detroit. They suck so bad that even when you get it right, is wrong.
Well said. Well said. I have to be this. This has to be by far in my brain. And my biases, this has to be the worst team in the NFL franchise. I think they're one of the worst teams ever.
Right now, to me, it's Houston.
Houston ain't been around long though. That's the thing.
Fair, that's a fair point. I give you that. I give you that.
They're a distant second, but yeah, Detroit. I mean, you got to come with it to beat Detroit. Detroit has. They have never been good in my lifetime, and I got to witness Barry Sanders, and they still wasn't good. Barry Sanders was good.
I got to witness Calvin Johnson, and man,
even that was that's the poor man's version. That's the goodest. That was the second best person I ever seen play on that franchise. Yeah, which is oh yeah, take your time.
Well, I'm torn with Matthew Stafford.
Okay, apart from the quarterback,
Yeah,
I'll put them.
second best skill player to ever play.
Got it. Yeah, outside of and Matthew
Because I
Stafford
wouldn't, I
was
don't even know
hands
if I would
down.
say Matthew Stafford is a better player than either one of them. I think it's just the position is so important. He's been actually very good.
I gave you that because he is the best quarterback I ever seen in half
Yeah,
in my lifetime. So they haven't had much. I mean,
I mean,
Rodney.
I got to witness Dan Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone.
Look, I,
So.
I would say Rodney Pete. That's one of those kind of Jim McMahon
Really?
types. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta go back and look at his numbers. You gotta look at some tape. But
I'm
he was
definitely gonna look at tape because
he was
man,
he was solid.
that's high praise coming from a Bears fan. Jim McMahon.
No. I ain't say he was. I say he was like a Jim to them, as opposed to
Okay,
how Jim McMahon was to us in Chicago. Rodney Pete was synonymous to that to Detroit.
gotcha.
He was just a solid, And we talking about in the '80s, a black quarterback that he was kind of before his time. You only had really like Warren Moon,
Yeah.
Randall Cunningham, and then Rodney Pete. And his backup was black too, Andre Ware. It was
Cool.
interesting, very interesting draft scenario that they had going on over there.
Look at Detroit. No, I like the pick. Again, it's Detroit though, so how is this going to pan out? Not good. Carolina.
Not at all. Not at all. We need somebody to be fourth and last in the NFC North.
Yeah.
Thank you, Detroit.
Thank you.
Sorry, Finley Sewell. I feel so.
It's not a good situation, but again, I like them. I think it's a smart
I shook
pick.
my head when they draft him. Come on, Cincinnati.
But the thing, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's not even about Detroit.
That's
it's
what
like
I'm saying. It's where he landed.
You really
so
screwed
bad
over
for him.
Penei Sewell.
Right, like bro, you can't come to Cincinnati.
Which is hard to say because Cincinnati is a horrible franchise.
A couple steps above, but them steps is world of differences. My gosh, at least I've seen Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. I had barely seen Detroit in the playoffs in my lifetime, maybe twice. And I'm saying maybe. I don't even remember. I don't remember them being in the playoffs.
All right. Well, pick 8 is what started my excitement for this
and
draft.
they're not even a draft fail. They should be a fail just because they showed up and did this pick. But I'm done. I'm gonna let you move on. You should have just skipped over Detroit.
I probably should have. I think I'm gonna have to cut up this section.
Gosh.
Pick 8, Carolina. Again, like I said, this is
Who
what
is
started
Jamar
my entire
Who
excitement.
is Jamar Jefferson? Tell me that.
Oh, you talking about the picks later
their
on?
last pick. He came from Oregon State. I guess I don't know. I don't know if that's what that's supposed to be. We gonna start with Penei Sewell from Oregon, and we're gonna end up with Oregon State's running back sensation Jamar Jefferson. Yeah, okay, at 257.
Well, you let Detroit be.
No, I told you I told you I was gonna talk about them. I was waiting for this pick. Moving on.
Carolina goes and picks up J.C. Horn. I think this is the direction that they went was smart. I don't necessarily like the pick. I don't think J.C. Horn's going to be a bust or anything like that. I just like Patrick Surtain that much more than him. That you kind of missed there.
I kind of thought that was a reach. Like they was like, trying to make some statement like we really got the guy.
Because he's not even my second favorite corner in this draft. Greg Newsome is.
Wow. Okay, I got you.
So that's where I'm just at with that. Like I'm just like, I felt like you could have traded back out of this pick, which you did with the rest of this draft. You kept trading back. But this pick here, it's just I'm like, yeah, you went the right direction. Smart choice. You didn't go quarterback to kind of F up everything with what you just did with getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater and getting Sam Darnold. Like they're in on Sam Darnold now.
And rightfully so, they should be.
Yeah,
it's like come on, man.
A second round pick is not nothing.
No, and you're sitting here, you're trading for a quarterback, you trade away a quarterback. What, to draft a quarterback? It's kind of like that'd have been a first ever. I've never seen nothing like that. But
this would be the year to do it though, with all the quarterback movement.
But they're just showing you this frenzy and this philosophy that's being thrown out there, and it's like, people, your first philosophy should be just just common knowledge. Just come on, seriously.
I'm not saying J.C. Horn's a bad pick. It's just like you said, it's the smart direction that you were going in. I think you just missed on the guy.
Exactly. I liked it. I just like, oh man, they definitely gonna. If they were going corner, I just thought it was gonna be Surtain.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to go with a weapon with Devontae Smith here, get him, just
We
kind of
were
bolster
talking
that.
about that.
I thought that was the move. Because I mean, even in our pre-draft show, I ended up saying that they were going to take Jalen Waddle, but that's because Devontae Smith wasn't available.
But considering what they got and what they did to get their second pick, I was kind of like,
Yeah,
not bad what they just pulled. They kind of made that J.C. Horn, kind of work. Because when you got Terrence Marshall Jr.
yeah.
at 59, I had this dude going at the end of the first round, and he fell. And man, did he fall? Why? I do not know.
I know exactly why, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Denver. Thank you, Denver. Man, Patrick Surtain, I think greatest pick of the entire draft. Second best pick of the entire draft. Go Patrick Surtain. Man, I don't understand. Why would you pick a corner at this position when you have Justin freaking Fields sitting right there?
And considering what they did in the free agency, they
you got Kyle freaking Fuller. What are you doing?
And they re-signed the police giving
Justin what it
I'm
Simons
sorry. Something like that. But they're fine in the defensive backfield. It was just kind of like
got Bryce Callahan as your nickel.
However, if there's ever if you ever want to see the building blocks of how you get a stellar defense,
this is true.
And this is why I didn't knock the pick at all, because I was just kind of like, yeah, you said you had a slam dunk, but I'm like, they technically they traded for the guy they actually wanted, and they traded for Teddy Bridgewater, which made sense, and it was kind of like, well, you could have held up on that deal if you was really going to go all in on to see what kind of quarterback you was going to get, specifically if you just getting him for a 6th rounder.
Yeah.
It was, and you taking on his big contract. I think that deal would have been waiting for you after the draft, or even during draft day, really, for that matter. But with that being said, I mean, Denver, I wanted to put them as a win, but they had a couple of questionable picks in the midst of there. But their first few picks was kind of solid. It's like. But the pick, man, they went a direction I don't think none of us seen coming. Like,
absolutely shocked by that pick. I did not see them going defensive back at all. With not in the first round anyway.
I mean, they said his name, and all the hearts in Dallas broke. It just broke. Oh, remember what I kept telling you? It's like a fantasy draft.
I think Dallas was seething.
Guy? You got your guy. Okay, oh man. Oh, I'm finna get. Let me just any day. Look, throw a name. Tyreek Hill. Oh, I'm finna get Tyreek Hill. Oh, look at that. I got one more pick to go. One more pick. I've been waiting for 4 picks, and the guy just waiting. It gets down. The clock is running. The clock is just going. It gets down to 2 seconds, and you about to ready to hit. You ready to hit sin, and that all of a sudden Tyreek Hill's name comes across the board. And you sitting there with nothing,
no backup plan.
And what did Dallas do? They had no backup plan, and they traded back because they needed some more time.
No, but I think they killed that. They
did.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
Come on, you messing up my analogy.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But no, I think they had that. That was their backup plan. Like, if that guy's not there, we just trading back.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was like,
because I think that they were okay with either one, if Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn fell to them.
Right.
But fell to them. Air quotes
J.C.
there,
Horn was good. Was all of a sudden was picked ahead of Surtain, and then of course Denver was looking to get some offensive player of some sort. Whether it was a quarterback, which is we both had Fields going.
I don't think there was. I did not believe there was any way Justin Fields fell past him.
I would have lost so much money in Vegas because this I thought was a slam dunk. Like Fields don't go to San Francisco, he's going to Denver.
Yeah,
I just. How is then because we were talking and then all of a sudden they talking about Carolina. I'm like, oh my God, how's Carolina getting in this? They just traded for one, and then traded another one away.
Yeah.
Why would they be trying to grab a quarter? So I'm sitting there nervous at 8. But then when I seen J.C. Horn, I was just like, okay,
yeah,
that's shocking. But J.C. Horn, Justin Fields, Patrick Surtain, and then we'll see what the Bears do. Then I know we were talking about the whole trading up for Mac Jones. That was just explaining where my mindset was at 8. Because I was just like, because of course I'm sitting here.
I was like, yeah, we could still try to get up past New England at 15 to go get Mac Jones. But hey, maybe even they're going to try to trade up and make sure that nobody, because even people were talking about Washington trading up for Mac Jones.
Exactly.
So like there was just so much going on there, and we were just like, Well, and we were in the midst of talking about this as this pick was coming in, and we
Yeah,
saw Patrick Surtain, and we both just pricked up like, "What? Okay, Justin Fields, like we got a chance here. There's a guy just kind of
exactly.
sitting
Because
there."
we know Dallas is not taking him, and the question was, okay, who's going to trade up first? And
Yeah,
then we seen the trade symbol. Okay, we just waiting to see what name came up. And when that orange banner and the Bears came across, I was like, oh
we'll get
my
back to that
God.
in a couple of
But yes,
picks.
we going jumping ahead.
Denver Broncos. Just the Patrick Surtain pick just didn't 100% make sense to me. But again, like you said, that's how you build a great defense. And they got a lot of defensive guys. I mean, they went defense heavy.
Yes.
Patrick Surtain, Baron Browning, Caden Stearns, Jamar Johnson, Gary Vincent
And
Jr.,
and
Jonathan Cooper,
and
Marquise.
Denver is one of those historical franchise, a franchise that historically they have very very solid defenses.
Yeah.
I mean, offense. I mean, it just depends on what year we're talking about and under whose regime. But that
Now, I
that
will say
came and
they
go.
did go and get what PFF had rated as the best running back in the draft, and Javonte Williams out of North
I was
Carolina.
gonna say I thought when you picked up a certain, if you're not going for a quarterback based on the fact that we just traded for, you got Teddy Bridgewater. Now you're gonna bolster this defense to
Mm-hmm.
help them. So you gotta somebody we gotta replace who just left.
Philip Lindsay.
Philip Lindsay. We need a replacement for Philip Lindsay. Possibly your French, maybe your new number one running back eventually,
Mm-hmm.
for Melvin Gordon, and now you got this guy at number 2. I'm like, not bad, man, considering you didn't have to go reach for him in the first round. I mean, granted, Jacksonville went a different direction.
Yeah.
As you were saying in our pre-draft stuff, Pittsburgh should be getting, if anything, Pittsburgh should be getting this guy, not
Yeah.
Harris. But
Travis Etienne is my favorite running back out of this draft. Do feel bad for him. He's in Jacksonville, but hey, I mean, maybe times are changing in Jacksonville. I did like their draft, like we said at the top of the show.
at least he has a chance.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just think that Denver, that's a good pick. Patrick Surtain's confusing, but a good pick. Got a lot more.
And they got a guard in the third round, so they put something on the offensive line. I thought they were smart, calculated moves. For them, it was more calculated.
I will say this draft is going to be put in context later down the road if they are the team that is trading for Aaron Rodgers.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. Because that'll just completely blow out everything leading up to all of this.
The question would be, what would degree? That really be if that even happens. I mean, I don't want to go. I'm not gonna go too deep in this. My question to that would be, what in the world is Green Bay asking for? That's what. I mean, granted, they could be like, yeah, we're trying to get rid of him and this, and that. But I'm like, he can sit there and talk about these are my list of teams. Does he have trade clause? No trade clause?
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
I mean, if he has it, great. But if he don't, I'm like, dude, you can list all the names you want. We'll send you where we'll send you.
Yeah. I think it's more likely that he is going to play in Green Bay this year. Just to, hey, I've still got 3 years left of my deal.
I'm waiting still for this June 2nd deadline. It's only because of a few stories. I heard some very disturbing news, and I'm like, I just don't see Green Bay doing it though. But
well, people keep saying like, oh, he's gonna want to get more money, and this is a whole different conversation. But he wants to get more money, and they need to give him the contract that's gonna deem fit. And I'm like, no, he got extended.
This is not about money.
This is not about money. This franchise has completely disrespected Aaron Rodgers, and again, this is coming from a Bears fan who has been absolutely traumatized by Aaron Rodgers over my entire lifetime. Like, this dude is continuously pissing me off. But I will say he has not gotten any respect from the Packers organization. So I don't believe this is about money in the slightest. And I don't think he's trying to get Brian Gutekunst fired either. I don't think he's asking for anybody's jobs or anything like that. I think he simply is just like, no, I've given you more than enough opportunities to do right by me. You haven't. We haven't won a championship with you kind of neglecting my wishes and my thoughts.
Right.
I'm ready to move on. And then I think it's just as simple as that. And I don't think he mean, maybe he's ready to retire. Maybe he's ready to just go do Jeopardy full time. But I don't see it. I think he's got so much football left in him. Unfortunately, he continues wreaking havoc on the Bears in this NFC North. But yeah, I just let's not. I have to leave that alone for now because I could go on and on about the way Green Bay as a franchise is being run. Now let's get into the pick 10 here. Philadelphia trades up with Dallas. They end up going to get their guy and Devontae Smith. This is where he goes.
It's not that guy.
Who do you think was their guy?
I was just saying he failed. And he would have kept falling. I don't, because even if Philadelphia stayed at,
Yeah,
I guess I think Philadelphia was more worried about what the Giants was going to do.
because I was gonna say the Giants would have taken him there. I think
Possibly,
I think that's what the situation was. I think everybody knew. To me, I don't think the Giants should have.
Because yes, they did go out there.
Yeah,
just went and got Galladay. What?
And this, so we'll get into them in a second.
I'm sorry,
but
I don't mean to jump.
I think this was the situation. Dallas was sitting there. They lost out on Patrick Surtain. They thought Patrick Surtain or whatever, him or J.C. Horn were going to be sitting there for him. Didn't pan out that way. So they were just like, well, I know these two in the division are looking for a wide receiver. I don't care if they get a wide receiver. This division sucks anyway. He's not going to move the needle.
Right.
So whoever, let's go ahead, bid for him. And I think the Giants were talking with Dallas with it, and then Philadelphia just came in over the top and was just like, nope, best deal here. Take it, leave it. And then and Dallas is like, okay, fine, whatever. And then that's what opened up the opportunity for the Giants to trade back because I think both of them really wanted Devontae Smith.
Interesting.
So now that Philadelphia, they were like, okay, we want a weapon. We want to make sure because their offensive line isn't horrible, but it definitely needed work. But hey, let's go ahead and give our guy Jalen Hurts a weapon, a good weapon at that. I think they got one of the best the second best wide receiver in the draft.
Yes.
Now, you had Kwity Paye going here to the Giants, but it turned out to be it still was one of the best picks at this position at 11 in the entire draft. Justin Fields goes to Chicago.
Look, we can't account for the trades. Let's be fair here. We just say if they just
I'm giving
if they pick straight up.
I think this is because it was a very interesting pick in our
right,
pre-draft.
and they would have went.
It was a very interesting pick in the real draft.
And just hearing what you're saying, they would have went and got a receiver.
Yeah.
Instead of what part really? Yeah, that's what you think your number one need was a receiver, right?
Passing up on Kwity Paye is
because we're not basing it on what the need is. We got to deal with the PR thing. Oh, let's see what we're gonna do for Mr. Jones over there. Yeah. Let's get him all the weapons we get and give him every opportunity possible. This is what get people fired so quick in the NFL. This kind of thinking. Whereas stick to the conventional wisdom in some cases. Don't overthink this. Get the safe pick.
Yeah.
No. Get the surefire thing. Nope. We want to go out there. We want to give them everything possible. Like this rookie is everything possible that you need. The rookie's gonna still be there. You'll be looking for a new quarterback to find for him next year. But the year after. But we seen this. It's oh god. It's one of the worst philosophies I've seen in NFL right now. It's just I've never seen it get people fired quicker. But I digress.
Chicago won the night. They won the night, and
I
I think
the draft.
Yeah, and I was gonna get to that. They not just day one; they won the entire draft. They fixed their offensive line, I believe, for the most part. Still got one more position to address on the offensive line, but they got their guy. They got a quarterback finally, and really the only thing left to address is left tackle and defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also under the impression that we didn't have a second corner, and I completely forgot that we had signed Desmond Trufant. Mm-hmm. But I still want depth there. I think we should get more corners, and we desperately need a strong safety. We have no strong safety whatsoever on our roster. But outside of that, this was, I think, a home run of a draft for Chicago. I love the Tevin Jenkins pick in the second round. And we continued. We got some more guys on the offensive line, and we just continued making the right decision. And even with us trading up to go get Tevin Jenkins, I think that was a home run because that's a first round talent at tackle.
And the Bears show, I mean, man, we already beside ourselves as they moved up 9 spots to jump in there, a la Patrick Mahomes style in the Kansas City Chiefs and go out and get their guy as a quarterback, and then did an encore performance in the second round the very next day. I've never seen this franchise that aggressive in the draft. I've never seen them that aggressive in anything, whether it
Yeah.
was free agency, a trade offer, or whatever. They, say what they want to say about the whole Russell Wilson thing. We don't know what happened. We don't know how aggressive they were because considering, I'm like, how many first rounds did you offer them? What players did you offer him with all three? Like, you know what I'm saying? Did you give them the max version of whatever it is? I don't think you did that. You might have gave them a nice offer. I'm using this
Yeah.
as a model. But this was, I mean, truly, they were aggressive. And they like, look here,
And and it wasn't aggressive to the point where they were just egregious and frivolously giving things up.
No.
Justin Fields trade, 1 future first round pick and a 4th round pick, and we did the pick swap. Okay, and we got Justin freaking Fields for that. Happy with
right.
it.
If we
Tevin Jenkins,
what are we
we
talking
gave
about?
up a 5th round pick, a future 5th. Please do it again, please. Keep doing it because those are smart things. Tevin Jenkins is going to be on our offensive line for the next 4 years. And I think he's going to be one of these guys who's going to be like a Joe Thomas type. 10,
what the
12
5th
years.
round pick was?
Like Larry Borum. Oh, the who Carolina ended up picking?
No. That we picked up.
Our 5th round pick was Larry Borum, another tackle.
5th round?
Yeah.
151? Is that 5th round?
Yeah, it's 5th round.
Then how many six? I thought we
have
had
3 6-round picks.
Right. And then we got then how do we get Virginia Tech's, Khalid Herbert?
So those were compensatory picks that we got for Kyle Fuller.
Okay. I was trying to figure out like my number off here.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, where did we get this running back? Okay, got it.
No, I think the 217 was it's either 217 or 221 is our pick in the 6th round, and then the other 2 are compensatory picks for
got it
for Kyle Fuller.
Okay. So we ended up getting 3 players for Fuller. It was all said and done.
We got 2 players for Fuller, and then we used one of those picks to trade into.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used we use those compensatory picks in the trade for Tevin Jenkins, I think.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, across the board, Chicago just killed it. I love the tackles that we got, and I think Larry Borum could play guard as well if he really wanted to, or wherever we need him. Justin Fields again, finally have a quarterback. He's mobile. To me, I think from what I saw, he could already start day one. But even if he is a more raw prospect that needs some time to develop, we have Andy Dalton there, and we have guys protecting Andy Dalton a little bit better. So hey, we should be just fine with that position.
I'm okay with the roster as a whole.
Yeah,
like from on the offensive side, because like I said, with the offensive line being addressed, that buys time, and it buys Andy Dalton some time, it buys the Bears some time, and it buys Justin Fields time, which is, and especially what's going on in Green Bay. We can find ourselves over here battling for the top spot in the division next year.
We already were. That's my thing, and this is what pissed. And I said this in the conversation on what was that, Friday? I'm tired of people saying that Chicago is a horrible situation. It's not. We have one of the best rosters. We've been in contention for the last 3 years. Since 2018, we've been in contention. We just literally not had a quarterback, and now we have a quarterback. What are we talking about here? This is a team ready to win. And if we can get him ready to go for day one, fantastic. If he's not ready for day one, don't put him out there. Please don't. I don't want you to shoot his confidence or anything like that. And to all the people saying that he wasn't happy to go to Chicago, no, he wasn't happy that he went to Chicago. He was not happy that he slid all the way to freaking 11 because these idiots in Denver, these idiots in Carolina, these idiots in Atlanta, in San Francisco, not going with a guy with this much freaking talent. He knew he should have been picked top 5.
Don't leave Detroit out. Because they should have looked at their situation and were like, hey, I know what we just did, but still, this guy's obviously better than golf. But moving on.
So at the end of the day, I think he was just pissed. And hey, if that puts a chip on his shoulder to play even better, and he's now motivated, because the second he put on that hat, I've been looking at the behind the scenes stuff from when the cameras were in the room. The second he puts on that hat, he's like, I'm ready to go to work. And I'm like,
Did you catch this man's did you catch his press conference?
yes,
Did you see what he compared himself to? Almost.
Russell Wilson. He models his game after Russell freaking Wilson.
It just I was making fun of, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, you call him Russell Wilson. You said you compare him to the two guys that we tried to trade for.
Yes.
And you said it's Russell Watson, Deshaun Wilson.
Russell Watson. Exactly. And then I'm sitting there watching the opposite. I'm on YouTube. But I'm like, oh, good. Finally, his press conference. I couldn't find it nowhere on TV. Like, I'm like, what did they never aired it, at least I never seen it. So I'm watching it. I'm mad at my own business. That man they talk about skill sets. He's like, yeah, I like to really compare myself to like a Russell Wilson. I really believe like my skill set fits it. What? I'm like, man, oh, let's go. I can't wait. I'm like, you know what? Pete Carroll, for all of that heartache you just put us through and put us through this little, just get our little hopes up and, keep them.
Yeah.
It's all good. We got more years, more time.
Less money.
Less money. I'll take this guy. It's cool. Because it's going to just call, it's too much work over there. You know what? Just, we're good.
Yeah.
Now we got our quarterback. Now Green Bay is doing the whole Russell Wilson thing now.
Yeah.
With it's like, what just happened? We're in the twilight zone of the NFL right now. Because I mean, within a month, 6 weeks or whatever that was, all of a sudden we on the upper. How did we get to the good? We're not behind the 8-ball anymore.
We're very much ahead of it.
No, we got the pool cue, and we about to hit the white ball and not to knock the hell out of this 8-ball now. I'm like, because we're in the driver's seat, and I'm like, oh, this looks good.
And this division looks good. And to me, this division was up for grabs even before this trade. And I was really afraid that it was about to be this changing of the tides, and now, even with everything happening out in Green Bay, we weren't going to be able to capitalize on it. We're going to have this really good defense, this solid roster on the offensive side of the ball, still no quarterback to take advantage of any of this. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see Minnesota take the next leap, and because they went and got Kellen Mond as their next guy, and I'm like, Kellen Mond's not horrible. I mean, if you can develop him behind Kirk Cousins for the next couple of years, he can be a decent quarterback. And so, man, they're going to end up coming out here and they're going to take over. And now it's going to be Minnesota's show for the next 5-10 years. And I'm never going to see Chicago end up. We're going to be that team that makes a blip over into the playoffs every now and again. Every couple of years, we pop our heads in there and get immediately kicked back down and never get the pick, never be high enough in the draft to go making you get a guy that's going to make a change in the organization or anything like that. Just going to keep being middle of the road. It's going to be just good enough to not win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Not so at this point.
No.
Again, aggressive moves. I mean, come on,
and I even like the Khalil Herbert deal, like that kid that we got in the 6th round. I to sit behind the 3 guys that we already got.
It's depth that we need because we don't know what we got with Tariq Cohen anymore. We're not sure.
David Montgomery's probably going to get injured. Because he's I don't think he's played a full season yet. I mean, even though he's been a 1,000-yard rusher 2 out of the 3 years, he's still. I don't think he's an every down back. Tariq Cohen, he's a gadget guy to me. He's not a running back. We do have our backup running back in Damian Williams, and then
we had Nall, and I'm just
you missed me with Ryan Nall.
Thank you. I was just like, and he just didn't show anything. And
no,
I'm like,
but the Khalil Herbert, we got a guy who's young, who's raw. If he's just willing to go run face first and plug a hole in whatever, cool. That's a type of guy that we need. If he's willing to be out in open space, be kind of an extension of our passing game, cool. We need that. Like whatever he can mold himself to be, we need it. So I like the pick no matter what. Plus, we got Daz Newsome, North Carolina wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what he's able to bring. I mean, we got a really solid. We got
Man,
Darnell Mooney in the
just
fifth.
think if
So
we had a Captain Trubisky, the tandem we would have had.
no, I just man, and to have Nick Foles sitting there as a guy who's played in a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl MVP, to have him being able to kind of show uh Justin Fields the ropes here and kind of show him like, hey, like these are some of the things that there is things that Justin Fields can learn from both Andy Dalton and from Nick Foles. Like, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with us going into the season with 3 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I'm fine with that. We've got our guy of the future at this point, though. That's what I needed from us.
Got it.
So, and I 100% agree. I 98% agree with PFF with their draft grade. The grade they gave Chicago Bears an A+. I think they needed to add on 2 more pluses there. Uh, all right, let's keep it moving here. Dallas ended up trading down. They ended up getting Micah Parsons. Smartest choice that they could have made at that position right there. I think that was just a home run pick for them.
Definitely.
You miss out on your guys at DB, which is the most need that you have there. You trade down, you get some draft assets, and then you get the best player available, Micah Parsons, home run. I just there's nothing else to say about that.
Okay, so they're the ones who had the most draft picks, right? 11, or was it
It's either them or it was Minnesota.
Minnesota might be. They had 11 draft picks. Their first 6 draft picks were all defensive players. You talk about addressing the need. Dallas handled their business. I mean, and this is what I mean as the model. This is what I'm talking about to the Cincinnatis and the Detroits and the Miamis and the Atlantas of the world. Listen here. You already have an offense, or you are, you know what I'm saying? You already have an established whatever it is that's already on your team. Stop trying to get the fancy bells and whistles and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, I mean, Dallas could have easily went out there and tried to grab some skill player and tried to add it on. It was a few left. I mean, at that spot, and just say, you know what? Let's just add on to what we already got.
Yeah.
No, they know where their I mean, good lord, their defense was horrible last year. And what do? Like anybody with any common sense, they go out and they address it with, okay, we got 11 picks. Our first half of this draft is just going to be the defense, and that's it.
And you know what's funny?
What's that?
Even with that, their first offensive pick, I think is smart. They went with the tackle. Protect Dak Prescott.
Right. If you're gonna have to, okay, if we're, and I mean, and they have offensive line troubles, which, again, this is what I meant by Detroit. Dallas is the model for me, and that's why I'm not knocking them. Like, you probably could have grabbed another offensive lineman in there somewhere. However,
Yeah.
your defense was that bad where it's like, screw that. Our defense is worse than our offensive line. So we're addressing that first. What do they address second?
Offensive line.
line. Just like that. And then they went and got some flyer wide receiver that may or may not make the team. If they don't make it, so be we good. What did Detroit do? Like I'm saying, you got this whole, oh my God, this sadistical choice of between, do we get we need the receiver, but we need protection too, and which one matters? Miss me. I'm good. Dallas, a complete A this year for the draft. So
solid pick there. I liked it, and to me, the best defensive player in the draft, they got him. Micah Parsons is home run. Bolster the linebacking core that they already do have. I like Leighton Vander Esch. I like Jalen Smith. And for them to put Micah Parsons in there too.
2 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 defensive, and then 2 linebackers, 2 defensive linemen, and 2 cornerbacks. First 6 picks. What? Come on. Are you serious? And still sitting there with 5 more picks to go? Okay.
And the Chargers, they went with Rashawn Slater. We had that in our mock right there.
Yes.
Solid pick. I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
It was just what you should have done in home run A+.
Number 2 pick though.
So what was that?
There's
I forgot. Yeah, talk about the rest of their draft.
Nice.
No, I mean they all around solid. And I mean, I haven't really done too much on them. Oh yeah, Asante Samuel. No, it's smart.
That's what I'm saying. They're
It's what they
solid
needed.
picks. These are some solid picks. I'm like,
Dallas Palmer out of Tennessee as well.
that's
Give
what
him
I'm
a
getting
weapon to
at.
throw to.
You had to go out of your way to get a failing grade for me this year. And there's a couple teams, like I said, are still we ain't got to them yet,
No,
but we get to 'em.
there was some weird stuff that happened.
Detroit should have been one, but Detroit was gonna get what they got
What'd you get him a
regardless.
C then?
I,
Like
I never gave them a grade, but they don't get an A.
TBD.
Pass, pass, fail. It's a pass, fail.
Okay, gotcha.
They pass.
Okay,
With what? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
They just pass.
yeah, no, the Chargers solid draft overall. You did what you were supposed to. Go ahead, address the offensive line, protect your offensive player of the year in Justin Herbert, and then make sure that there's a defense there so that he doesn't have to play hero ball for the entire season.
And sprinkled a couple of little weapons in there for him. Gave him
Yeah.
a wide receiver and a tight
A
end.
tight end too,
it's
yeah.
just like, okay, interesting.
And a running back, Larry Rountree.
He may. I like to say some of these guys will stick around, and
Yeah.
he might be on for special teams first, but something to look out for when you see a Roundtree the third running around there somewhere.
Who is that?
Right.
Yeah. So Minnesota, no, sorry, the Jets. We talked about this pick already. Elijah Vera Tucker, very solid pick there.
Yes.
New England, Mac Jones, expected here, and then the rest of their draft, pretty solid.
They were one of my win. There was one of my
Your winners of the draft.
one of my winners. I had them number 6, but
Okay.
Just by looking at them, I'm like, man, it's just solid all the way around. Now that's barring Mac Jones is not a bust. They should be fine. But yeah, but overall, I thought they had a very solid draft. This is, oh my god, I had we had this reprieve of, this little hiatus for
Yeah.
for New England. I was getting kind of used to it, but then they come right back. I'm like, oh, you got to pay attention to them. 'Cause damn Belichick.
Well, you had to pay attention, and this is my thing. Everybody's talking about how bad New England was last year. I was like, okay, keep in mind they did not have a lot of guys on their defense last year.
Not at all.
They had the most guys opt out due to COVID last year. Let's keep that in mind. All those guys are coming back. Plus, they got this draft here where they got Christian Barrymore to come in now as well. Mac Jones can potentially take over at some point once they decide he's ready to play.
Yeah, but Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets they on doubled up on them now, and they ready. So
And to me, it's not even about that because you got a 7th spot to make it to the playoffs anyway. Like all you need to do is make it to the wild card. You got 3 spots to make it there.
Sure.
AFC is a tough. Both these divisions are tough. I mean, conferences are tough in my opinion. Now, I mean, you got a lot of teams with quarterbacks now that are solid. It's just really about team building at this point. I just think New England, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt no matter what.
Right. And they get the benefit of the doubt. I mean, man, they're like, yeah, Mac Jones, Christian Barrymore. I mean, man, Ronnie Perkins. Man, it's just, I'm not feeling this running back, but I never do when it comes to New England. They usually find these diamonds in the rough. So the question,
and this is what I forgot: they still have Sony Michel.
Not for long. I think they, yeah. I mean, but this is where this guy comes in. In the I think Leadus is in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I can't say his first name. I don't even know how to say that. Ramondre.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson.
I think he's going to definitely push Sony Michel, and it's really going to. And I think this is Sony Michel's last. He's going to have to put up or shut up. At this point.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to push him one way or the other. Either push him onto the field or out the door. So.
Yeah. All right, Arizona here. Zaven Collins, they take in the 1st round. That's their kind of. This is my first reach of the draft.
Yeah, this was my miss.
Yeah, I didn't like the pick.
I think it was way too early.
Just sorry. And I do like Zaven Collins. I just think it was again way too early. You didn't. it didn't. It is a need for them. They do need to fix their defense a little bit more, but I felt like there is more that you could have done before that.
I
And if that's a guy that you really wanted, you could have traded down for him.
if I had to guess, it was more so that they had, which I believe,
Hmm.
my opinion, I think they nailed the free agency
Yeah, they did.
period, and I think that probably gave them space to sit here and gamble a little bit with this pick. That would be my guess. I can be completely wrong, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me at this point. Like you said, they could have traded down and traded back out of this pick to get this guy. No one was after him unless there's some rumblings that's going on that we know nothing about, and yeah, football team was thinking about grabbing him at 19 or something, okay, is there somebody else you can get?
There's better linebackers to me.
But remember this whole go out, get your
Get your
guy.
guy. I know.
Getting your guy ain't necessarily, again, I told you this is like a fantasy draft. Like, you skipped over all these people to get that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my guy. I really wanted him. Yeah, we know how that works out most times.
Not at
Crash and
all.
burn with that guy. So they passed, but
Yeah, I
they,
mean, it doesn't hurt them. It's like you could have gotten more out of this.
mhm,
Like if you would have went with Christian Barmore, I think that might have been the better choice there. But hey, you let him slide all the way down to New England in the second round. They were just like, we can't pass on this dude. Like
right.
we passed. They passed on them before, and they just couldn't do it again. So yeah, and it's not a shot at Zayvon Collins. I think he's going to be a good linebacker in this league eventually. Just I felt like you could have got him later. That's really my only issue with it, is that I feel like that's just way too early to go grab him.
What do you think of their number 2 pick?
Uh, who was that again?
Rondale Moore, wide receiver, out of Purdue.
I don't hate it. I just feel like was Terrence Morrig there?
Who?
No, not Terrence. Terrence Marshall Jr. Was he there?
Mhm.
I would have taken him.
That's what I was telling you. Like, Terrence Marshall Jr. just failed.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
I felt like he was better. Rondale Moore, I mean, he was not bad. It's just, and I know a lot of people had him as the high second round grade, and I was like, ugh. I just didn't see it from the tape that I was watching. I just, it didn't do it for me. And
I got a bit of a problem. This guy is tiny.
hey, you don't like the small wide receivers.
5'7", 181. They're getting smaller as we go. I'm not getting bigger. I'm like, good Lord. I was already messed up with Waddle. Now this dude's 5'7".
Yeah.
I'm 5'9". I'm not a big guy. 5'7"?
Yeah.
I might be like 5'9", 185. I'm not. I don't look like a NFL receiver. I'm like, I don't think this dude. Oh my God, Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I really do like. I
gave him a pass. I guess.
They did not win the draft for me.